You know how people always say your high school best friend is supposed to be the one who sticks by your side through everything, through heartbreak, through drama, through the absolute chaos that is being a teenager. Yeah, that wasn't my story at all. Back in 10th grade, I had this best friend, let's just call her Jay. We were inseparable, like two halves of the same messed up coin. At first, everything seemed perfect. We shared snacks, secrets, late-night FaceTimes, and way too many inside jokes, but looking back now, I realize it wasn't friendship, it was control, and the moment I started pulling away, everything went to hell. It all started with this stupid argument, one of those things that should have been a blip on the radar, but somehow turned into a full-blown fallout. I don't even remember what kicked it off, but I do remember one thing: she was completely, undeniably in the wrong, like, it wasn't even debatable, and instead of apologizing or even just letting it go, she decided to go nuclear. The next morning, she came up to me acting all righteous, like she was the one who'd been wronged, and I was confused, like, girl, what is your damage? And then she said something that made my stomach drop. I saw what you were saying about me on Snap, she hissed, like she'd just caught me committing a felony. I blinked at her. What? Oh yeah, she said, all smug, I logged into your account, I read your conversations, all of them. Let me just say this, I don't care who you are, logging into someone's private account without permission is next level messed up, but somehow, in her mind, she thought this gave her the right to lecture me for venting to my other friends, not apologize, not self-reflect, just straight up yell at me for being upset about her own behavior. That's when I knew this wasn't just a fight, this was war. What happened next was like watching a car crash in slow motion, except I was the one inside the car and she was the one yanking the steering wheel. She started going around to everyone, mutual friends, old classmates, people I hadn't spoken to in months, spinning this totally twisted version of the story where I was the backstabber, I was the snake, I was the one who needed to be cancelled. And for a while, it worked. People started pulling away. I'd walk into a classroom and feel the weight of 10 eyes judging me, whispering things I couldn't quite hear but definitely understood. There were group chats I was suddenly removed from, invites that stopped coming, birthday parties that forgot me. But here's the thing about lies, they don't age well, the truth has a weird way of surviving. A few of our closer friends, people who actually knew me, not just heard of me, started seeing through her act. They noticed the gaslighting, the manipulation, the way she always played the victim, even when she was holding the metaphorical knife behind her back. Slowly, they began distancing themselves from her, not loudly, not publicly, just, one by one, they stopped texting her back, they stopped sitting next to her at lunch, they stopped playing along with her endless drama. And she noticed. By the time we hit the middle of our senior year, we weren't even speaking anymore. It was like we become ghosts in each other's lives. Haunted hallways, side eyes in the cafeteria, awkward silence during group projects, and honestly, I was okay with that. I wasn't looking for revenge, I just wanted peace. But of course, she wasn't done. A couple weeks before graduation, things were finally starting to settle down, prom was over, final exams were coming up, and for the first time in forever, I felt like I could actually breathe. Then I heard something that made my skin go cold. Apparently, Jay had told one of my friends that she was planning to blow off steam on the last day of school, and not in a get ice cream and dance in the hallway kind of way. No, she said she wanted to pick a fight with me. But here's where fate finally flipped the script. It wasn't the friend she told who warned me, it was someone else entirely, someone on her side, who overheard her talking trash and decided enough was enough. That girl came straight to me and said, "She's planning something. Be careful." That was the moment I stopped trying to avoid her and started planning my own move. I went straight to my mom, because say what you will, but my mom. She doesn't play. She told me I needed to cover myself, make sure if anything went down, there would be no question who was to blame. And I took her advice. The next day, I sat down with the school counselor and told her everything, every twisted lie, every manipulation, every threat, especially the one about blowing off steam. The counselor's eyes widened and she nodded slowly, like this wasn't the first time someone had come to her about Jay. She said, "We need to take this seriously," and sent me to speak to the school coordinator. And that, my friend, that's when things really started to unravel. Because what I didn't know, what none of us knew, was that Jay wasn't just about to get exposed. She was about to self-destruct. You won't believe what happened next. You ever watch someone dig their own grave in real time? Like, no matter how many chances they get to stop, they just keep grabbing the shovel and going deeper and deeper. That's exactly what happened next, and let me tell you, it was the most satisfying train wreck I've ever witnessed. So there I was, sitting in the coordinator's office, laying everything out like a witness in court. I wasn't dramatic, I wasn't emotional, I was just calm, because the truth doesn't need theatrics. She nodded, took some notes, and said, "We're going to take this seriously. I want you to come with me to the principal's office." Let me tell you, when someone says that sentence to you, your heart drops, but in that moment, I wasn't scared, I was focused, because I knew what I said was true, and if she wanted to throw hands or cause chaos during the last week of school, then I was making sure she'd be the only one holding the bag. So we walk into the principal's office, this huge, intimidating room with certificates on the wall and one of those too fancy chairs that makes everyone feel small. I sit down, and the coordinator starts explaining the situation to the principal, who just nods slowly, hands clasped, like he's heard it all before. And then, they call her in. Yep, Jay walks into the office, acting like she just won Student of the Year, hair curled, fake smile, all confidence and glitter lip gloss, but the moment the coordinator repeated my words, the threat she made about blowing off steam on the last day, something changed in her face. She froze, her eyes widened, and then, in the smallest, squeakiest voice I've ever heard from her, she went, "Me?" Like she wasn't even sure if she was Jay anymore. She started doing that thing she always did when she was cornered, hands on her head, fake gasps, throwing out random swear words like they were exclamation points. "I never said that. That's not true. Why would I ever do that? I didn't say a word." But then she turned to me and, get this, she demanded to know who told me. "Who said I said that? Who was it?" she snapped, glaring at me like she was ready to rip someone's name out of my throat. And that's when I gave her a look, not an angry look, not a scared one, just a slow, cold stare, the kind that says I'm done playing nice, and I said, clear as day, "So you can go pick a fight with her, too?" Even the principal raised his eyebrows. That moment. That was the first time I saw real panic on her face, because she knew that everyone in that room now saw her for who she really was. She tried to deny it a little more, twisting her story, saying maybe someone misunderstood her words. But then, and I will never forget this, she slipped. She let out this nervous little laugh and said, "Okay, well, all I said was that after exams, I might blow off steam if someone tries me." Boom, there it was, the confession. The coordinator leaned forward like she'd been waiting for that exact sentence. The principal sat up straighter and said, "So you did say something like that? And Jay?" She went silent. The principal didn't yell, he didn't lecture, he just gave her this look, like a disappointed dad who's done being patient, and said, "Let me make one thing very clear, if anything happens during the last days of school, a fight, a disturbance, even a prank, it doesn't matter who's involved, you will be the one held responsible, every eye will be on you, and your graduation status, your final record, your entire high school legacy, it's all on the line." She just nodded, her lips pressed so tight they turned white, and then we were dismissed. I walked out of that office with my head high. She, on the other hand. She waited until she was out of sight and then completely broke down. A friend of mine saw it happen. She was outside the office waiting to talk to the principal herself. She told me Jay walked into the hallway, leaned against the wall, and started sobbing like the world was ending. And honestly, I should have felt bad, I should have pitied her, but I didn't. Because that was the first time I saw her lose control, the first time she couldn't spin the story or flip the blame or manipulate the people in the room, and it was all her own doing. But wait, it gets better. I walk into class later that day, feeling like I've aged 5 years in 2 hours, and the second I sit down, one of my classmates, someone I didn't even know was close to the situation, jumps up and goes off. She starts yelling across the room, calling Jay a liar, a manipulator, a coward, she said, and I quote, "It was written all over her voice that she was faking everything, and I hope everyone finally sees through her fake little act." People turned and stared, jaws dropped, and I just sat there, stunned, but also kinda grateful, because for once, I wasn't the one defending myself, someone else saw the truth and said it out loud. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about Jay anymore, this was about every girl who ever got pushed around by someone fake and petty, this was about standing up for yourself without even raising your voice, and this was about making sure that the person who tried to ruin you, ruins themselves instead. You won't believe how far she went to recover her image after this, but she only made it worse. You'd think that after the principal laid it all out so clearly, that any drama would be pinned on her, no questions asked, she'd keep her head down, stay quiet, and just ride out the last few weeks of school, right? Nope, not Jay. Because when people like her feel cornered, they don't retreat, they explode, and what she did next. You won't believe it unless I spell it out for you step by step. So, the day after our principal's meeting, the entire school seemed to buzz with low-level gossip. I kept catching people glancing at me in the hallway like I was holding some secret they all wanted to know, and apparently, the news had spread, not the details, of course, I didn't tell a soul, but people knew something big went down, people who'd been on the fence about Jay were suddenly very, very quiet. But Jay. She came in like nothing happened. She strutted through the halls with that same fake confidence, hair done up like she was starring in a teen drama, nails fresh, lips glossed to the gods, she acted like the principal's warning was just a little slap on the wrist, nothing more. But you could tell she was scrambling, because she started damage control, hard. First, she went to this girl she used to call annoying, behind her back, a girl I barely even knew, and suddenly they were besties. Jay was hugging her in the cafeteria like they were childhood soulmates, you know those fake friendships that only pop up when someone's desperate. Yeah, it was one of those. I could tell exactly what was happening. Jay was building a little army, trying to rewrite the narrative, painting herself as the poor, misunderstood victim. She even told one of my friends, who, by the way, hadn't even spoken to her in months, that I was spreading lies about her to the faculty, lies. As if what she said, "I'm gonna blow off steam on the last day," wasn't something she herself admitted in front of the principal. But here's the thing about trying to manipulate people who already know what you are, it never works. Because people were watching her more closely now, every word she said, every sudden friendship, every dramatic eye roll in class, it was all under a microscope, and then came the final week, the week where everything blew up. We were all counting down the days to graduation, people were signing yearbooks, planning after-grad parties, decorating caps, and then, out of nowhere, I get a message. From a girl I hadn't talked to since middle school. She said, "Hey, I just thought you should know Jay's been telling people you're going to try to start something at school, she's saying you're obsessed and jealous and want revenge, I don't know what's going on, but I believe you." My heart stopped for a second. She was flipping the script, again. Except this time, she wasn't just lying, she was trying to bait me, trying to create a setup where if anything happened on the last day, she could go, "See? I told you she was crazy." So what did I do? Nothing, literally nothing. But I did take screenshots, I sent them to my counselor, I sent them to my mom, I even printed them out, just in case, because I wasn't about to let her write my ending. And then came the last day of exams. We all showed up, tired, cranky, emotional, the whole senior class buzzing with nerves and excitement. I kept it cool, head down, just trying to survive the final hours. I passed my test, turned in my locker key, and walked into the atrium for the senior send-off like I didn't have a care in the world. But Jay. She was pacing, literally pacing, wearing a bright red hoodie, like she wanted people to notice her, with her little fake friend group clinging to her side like backup dancers. You could feel the tension, everyone could. And then, like something out of a movie, the fire alarm goes off. Dead silence for 1 second, then chaos, kids laughing, some panicking, teachers rushing to the hallways, the principal comes running down, looking like he's already aged 5 years since breakfast, and before anyone can even say anything, he locks eyes with Jay. Because guess who had been warned that anything, even a false alarm, would be pinned on her? That's right. She immediately starts freaking out. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. I didn't even touch the alarm. And the principal just goes, we'll be reviewing the hallway cameras. Boom. You should have seen her face, it dropped like a curtain, because whether she did it or not, she had already built the reputation, she had laid the foundation for suspicion, and the worst part. Nobody came to defend her. Not one teacher, not one student, even her new little posse just stood there, dead silent. I don't know if she pulled the alarm, honestly. I don't even care. Because it didn't matter. The principal told her, in front of a whole group of faculty, that they would be holding her from the graduation ceremony until further notice pending investigation. She stormed out of the school like a villain in a soap opera, eyes red, yelling about how everyone was against her. And me? I just stood there, watching it all unfold like a front row seat to karma. You won't believe what she did after that, though. Because even after everything, she still tried to make one last power move. You'd think, finally, this would be the end, right? Wrong. Because Jay doesn't just quit, not when she's losing, especially not when the stakes are high and all eyes are on her, and nothing says center stage like graduation day, caps, gowns, flashbulbs, families holding signs. It's every high schooler's dream finish, but for Jay, it became her last-ditch effort to rewrite the story one final time, and trust me, you won't believe the stunt she tried to pull. Let me back up for a second. So after the fire alarm incident, she was pulled from the ceremony, temporarily, they said, until they reviewed camera footage, but everyone knew the truth. It wasn't just about the alarm, it was the pattern, the chaos, the manipulation, the threats. They were finally tired of pretending she was just misunderstood. And guess what? When they checked the cameras, she wasn't the one who pulled it. But still, the principal decided she could only walk the stage if she had a parent escort her before and after, and she had to sit apart from the rest of us, like, in the back row, alone. I know it sounds harsh, but after everything she did, to me, to other girls, to the faculty, it was a mercy they even let her attend at all. Now fast forward to the big day. The auditorium's packed, everyone's taking selfies in their gowns, fixing their hair, signing each other's caps, the energy's insane, and me? I felt calm for the first time in 2 years, like I had finally survived the storm. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't watching my back, because she wasn't going out quietly. As the ceremony started, I spotted her slipping into the side door with her mom in tow, dark sunglasses on like she was trying to go incognito, which, ironically, just made her more noticeable. People whispered, teachers exchanged looks, nobody said anything, but the tension was there. The principal called out the top students first, valedictorian speeches, scholarship announcements, a few inside jokes that made the teachers laugh too hard. It felt warm, it felt real, like we were all in this happy little ending together. Until they called my name. Now listen, I wasn't valedictorian or anything, but I had won a couple of school awards, and when they called me up, I got one of the loudest rounds of applause, real, genuine cheers. I walked across that stage with my head high, shook the principal's hand, and turned to face the crowd for a photo. That's when I heard it. A slow clap. Then, a sarcastic, drawn-out, oh wow, look who's suddenly perfect. It came from the back row. It was Jay. You could feel the entire room freeze, the cheer died, people turned around, confused, some laughed awkwardly, like they weren't sure if it was a joke or a breakdown. The principal stiffened, he grabbed the mic again and gently said, let's stay respectful, folks, it's everyone's day. But I wasn't even mad. Because you know what I saw. A girl who wanted to win so badly, she embarrassed herself trying, a girl who thought one moment of snark would undo 2 years of chaos she created. And I did something that shocked everyone, including myself. I smiled, I looked right at her, and I said, loud enough for the row in front of her to hear. Funny, I didn't see your name on the program. Boom. You ever hear a slow, collective gasp roll through a room like thunder? That's what happened. Jay's face cracked, she looked around, and no one came to her rescue, not her mom, not her old friends, not a single teacher. She just shrank into that chair, swallowed by the silence she had built herself. The ceremony continued. My friend who overheard everything outside the principal's office came up and hugged me so tight I nearly lost my cap. She whispered, "I've been waiting 2 years to watch you win." And I did. After the ceremony, we all spilled out onto the lawn, taking photos, throwing our caps, crying and laughing and hugging like we were in some teen movie montage. Jay was nowhere to be seen, gone, no pictures, no confetti, just gone. Later that evening, someone posted a picture of the graduating class online, and guess who got cropped out in every single version? Yeah, Jay. But this story doesn't end with her being erased. No, the real ending is what happened after. Because her biggest humiliation wasn't what happened on stage. It was how people remembered it. Graduation was supposed to be her moment to blow off steam. Instead, she burned every last bridge she had left. After that stunt during the ceremony, that bitter slow clap and sarcastic jab, Jay thought she was making some bold, unforgettable exit, but what really happened? She became a cautionary tale, a ghost of who she used to be, unraveling in real time in front of the entire senior class. The next day, the group chats were on fire, people were posting videos, screenshots, even memes. One said, "When the villain thinks she's the main character," another had her picture blurred out of the class photo with a caption, "Oops, glitch in the system." But the one that really hit me? Someone posted a quote that said, "Revenge is best served by letting them ruin themselves, while you shine." I didn't even have to comment. People knew. Teachers emailed me congratulations, my counselor pulled me aside to say how proud she was of how I handled everything, even students I barely talked to before told me I was so real for that moment on stage. And Jay? She never came to the grad party, she never posted a single photo from that day, and by the time fall came around, she transferred colleges and blocked half the graduating class on social media. It's wild, right? All I wanted was to protect myself, to avoid drama, but by staying calm, by choosing the high road, by keeping my cool even when she tried to drag me down, I didn't just survive her. I beat her. Without ever raising my voice, without throwing a single insult, I let the truth, the witnesses, and her own actions speak louder than anything I could have said. And the best part? I didn't lose my peace. She lost everything. So yeah, sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming or fighting back. Sometimes, it's walking away with your head high. While they destroy themselves trying to tear you down.